So the problem most people have is that they think of dropshipping as this get rich quick scheme that'll just print money from thin air, which is exactly the category of people who never make it. Because the fact being that if you think of anything for that matter, not just dropshipping. Now this channel is regarding e-commerce and dropshipping, whatever we talk about that. But if you think of anything for that matter as a get rich quick scheme, it will not work. All right. So the problem with this kind of people is that they are always looking for the winning strategy or the winning product, or the winning ad, and it could be anything. A lot of the winning ad, the winning product, the winning funnel, and it could be anything, the winning offer, right? Mostly it's the winning product. I think people in India mostly search for this, right? So if you go after following this, it won't really last, and you won't really have a success. Even if you find short-term success, you will just plateau out and then die because you don't really understand marketing and direct response and any of those things which actually make this business. All right. So what you need to instead do is you need to think from first principles, and you need to understand what exactly is this business. So this business is basically an arbitrage business, and any successful business in the world is mostly an arbitrage business, right? So you got Amazon, right? Okay, very professional. Amazon, you got, I don't know, in the world you got Amazon, you got Uber, you got in India you got Zomato, you got Swiggy, you got, now I don't really like to count Indian companies because they are successful just for the name's sake, because most of them are in loss. So, but just for an easy example, I have included them as well. What else? You have Flipkart, you have international, you have Airbnb, right? So this is just a basic example. It could be a lot of things. It could be, I don't know, any it could also be Berkshire Hathaway, right? It can be YouTube, it can be Twitter or X, whatever. It can be Reddit, it can be IG, it can be FB. So what you will see with all these businesses or with all these platforms, what are you going to call them, right? There is a recurring pattern, and that recurring pattern is actually quite simple. That recurring pattern is that all of these businesses, right? Let me just make it like this so that I'm back. Sorry. So because it was taking a bit too long, I decided to cut it directly. So what I was saying is that any of these successful companies or platforms you might take in the world, whatever they do or make is not really theirs. All right. So let me explain what I mean by this. Amazon doesn't own any stuff. It doesn't hold inventory. Now it does hold inventory, as in the fact that to dispatch it, but it's not Amazon's inventory. As in Amazon has not Bezos. Let's just put it simply here. Jeff Bezos has not used his money to buy cogs. As simple as that. He has the inventory to dispatch. It's inventory of other people, and you have sellers and blah blah on Amazon who hold inventory and sell their stuff, right? Same for Uber. Uber doesn't own any taxis. It just has a gig, and where taxi drivers can list themselves up and take up rides, right? Same for Zomato. It doesn't own any restaurants, all right? It just has restaurants listed on the platform. Same goes for Swiggy. Zomato, Swiggy, basically the same thing. Flipkart, Amazon, basically the same thing. Same goes for Airbnb. It doesn't own any of the houses. It just gives a platform for any of the big companies, anyone who can basically has a house can rent their houses, but it doesn't own any of the house. Berkshire Hathaway doesn't really own any of the companies it invests in. It just invests into them and it just makes money off of that, right? YouTube doesn't own, or it doesn't produce any of its content. Same goes for Reddit, same goes for Twitter, same goes for Instagram, and a lot of other things. These are just examples that came right off the bat, from my head. But any big successful company that has been scaled and is pretty has done something of and has made a lot of money pretty much, works on this very important thing, that is arbitrage. And I have also heard, I think Iman Ghazi talk about this, I'm not really sure, but I think I have heard him talk about it. So arbitrage is basically something that it's you take someone else's thing where you haven't made it or you don't own it, and you sell it and you profit the difference. All right. So this, from first principle, is what makes dropshipping or e-commerce profitable. Because if you go about making everything off your own, you will not really be profitable. because especially in the beginning when you don't have the capital or anything to do so, right? So this, from first principles, is drop shipping. All right, this is drop shipping from first principles. Drop shipping from first principles. All right. So the thing is that in arbitrage economy, all right, so what you got to keep in mind is whenever you're selling, because you can sell it, right? You can obviously sell it. Whatever that is you're selling, right? You're going to have competition. So Meta has a very good monopoly here. Is basically they have everything owned on themselves, so it's very difficult to compete with Meta. And that's what you'll have to do here. You have to build a monopoly of yours, right, to be able to last long. Because otherwise because if you can sell it, anyone else can sell it too. The barrier to entry is not actually that much, to be honest, especially in Indian e-commerce, because you need a bit of money, but you don't need that as much of money as you would need in the international market. And like more than money, I think it's about skills. The skills you need to learn in India still are not as much as you would need, in international, because the competition is really very low here, and even if you're just like subpar, you can make decent money here, which is why people get into it. But again, that's a paradox, because if you really get into this thinking it's a get rich quick easy money thing, then you'll never be able to make money. But that's a separate story, right? So my point being is that you have to see Indian e-commerce, dropshipping, whatever it is, from first principles, which is arbitrage business, where you sell products, right? Arbitrage business where you sell products you don't own, all right, or have made, all right, basically like this. Now obviously some people, you might say that you can't really do, you have to hold inventory here. So how is this arbitrage? It's still arbitrage because you're not making the stuff, right? Now what I'm trying to say here is that in India you cannot really rely on platforms. Like you have got some platforms like Dropship India Live, you had Roposo, right? Roposo, and you also have like I think Dropdash, it is something like that, etc. So the thing is, you cannot really do dropshipping in India, which is basically a fulfillment model of e-commerce, right? Because obviously there's no proper fulfillment model, right? So the thing is that all these platforms, the problem here is that if you go about using all these platforms, and I don't know what other platforms there are, you basically are giving away your entire control of your business to these platforms, and they can basically do whatever the fuck they want, right? So and that's not really a right thing to do, and so you have to hold inventory here. And if you don't do that, then you basically cannot really scale that much, all right? The best way is probably to get private suppliers from IndiaMart, and that's the thing, right? So my point being is that you have to keep inventory here, and you have to do it like that, and that's probably point number 2, right? So this is just like a raw video, so that is why I'm thinking through as I'm making this video, so there's no cut and whatever. So this was point number 1. You have to think from first principles. This is point number 2, that you have to actually see the business and have it, do it like a proper e-commerce thing. It's not dropshipping. Dropshipping isn't really possible in India because there are no proper dropshipping platforms. In fact, dropshipping is not even very viable in the long term. Even in the like international markets, you can maybe reach 100k, 150k US dollars per month, but that's about it. After that, you have to build a proper brand there, and you have to have inventory there as well. And let me tell you, keeping inventory there is 100x more complicated than keeping inventory in India, because you have to contact 3PLs in China and US, whatever the fuck, right? It's very complicated. You need a shit ton of money, and even after you have put shit ton of money, there's sort of legal complications and all that, so we're not really recommending. Anyway, getting back to my point here, why did I say that Indian e-commerce is dead if you don't know these things? Well, it's very simple. It's because if you think of it as a get-rich-quick scheme, and this is what happens with most people, they think of this as a get-rich-quick scheme, and they keep looking for these things rather than being able, like becoming the person who can write these things and find these things and make these things. All right. So the thing is that if you keep looking for the winning strategy, the winning meta ad strategy, or the winning product, that someone gives you the winning product, or that by doing something that will just magically cut the skill set, it's not really going to work out. And second of all, you have to think of it as a real business that makes you real money, like it changes your life, right? So the thing is, I'll try to give you a perspective here. So let's say I just finished reading the biography of Walmart's founder, Sam Walton, right? So you have to basically think of your e-commerce business as digital Walmart, if that makes sense, right? So when Sam Walton was opening Walmarts, right, back in 1970s, all right, 1970s, when he was doing this, 1960s, 70s, 80s, whatever. So when he was doing this, he basically used to have a lot of people, on payment plans and incentives and bonuses and his own things, and he used to work all the time, right? And he used to work like crazy, always, obviously, right? So they were basically in discount merchandising, right? Discount merchandising, okay? And basically they destroyed all the competition, became the biggest whatever, right? So what lesson you can take from here is, like, let's say if Sam, you basically are building a digital Walmart of yours, right? You're not obviously going to discount them because you cannot really do that on Facebook ads, but you have to think what you can take from here and apply to yourself, which in this case is to be able to think of your business as a place where people actually buy from. Now, if Sam Walton back in the 1960s, 70s, 80s didn't show up on his business every day and didn't really work, he wouldn't have built Walmart, right? And it was not that he could, whenever he wanted to chip into the company and take the profits out for whatever he wanted to buy. That's not how companies work, right? So you have to treat this as a real business, and even once it starts making money, you have to understand the fact that it's a business, and you cannot, any CEO of a company doesn't really come and take out the money whenever he wants to. You have to keep the money in the business. You can take a salary out of it, you can take a comfortable salary so that you're comfortable, you can live अच्छे से, right? But even you cannot do that for the initial few years because that's just how it works, right? And if you keep doing that, then you will eventually, like, your like ego becomes this black hole. This is you, right? And this like rocket is your like business, right? Sorry, this horrible drawing, but whatever. So this is your rocket, right? Rocket is your business, right? This is business. Amazing drawings, guys, amazing drawings. Sorry for the very extremely high production cost. This is your business, right? And this is you, and like you basically, it's like you become heavier and heavier, and eventually the rocket is not able to carry the load and the rocket will collapse. All right. So if you don't get the why I made this point is because you're basically trying to sell things, right? Which is, and Walmart, I think, is the best example of how you sell things. Yeah, obviously you cannot really follow Walmart's selling principle in India. I mean, many people follow that because they think that discounting is the way to go, but it's not really long-term play because meta auctions will absolutely destroy you. But whatever, people have their own ways of doing things. But my point being that you can take the the behavior and identity of the person who did create this billion-dollar company, and you can see the principles and strategies and apply it, because strategies are born, sorry, I meant if you can take the principles, because strategies are born out of principles, and if you can follow the principles, then they're always correct and they always hold true no matter business, and you can take the principles and apply it to your own business, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the thing, right? And yeah, that's why if you don't do these things, then basically dropshipping will not really work out for you. I didn't really talk about the general things like RTO, India, and blah blah, because everybody knows about them, but nobody really thinks of it like this, because it's a real business, you're trying to make real money, and it's not something get rich quick scheme or whatever, so you have to treat it like that, right? Now, if you're someone who wants to start and scale their own e-commerce business in India, then you can contact me on my email. This is only for serious people who have the decent budget to do so, and you're looking to start and learn from the best in the game, right? So we'll help you one-to-one. We'll set out a goal for you before we start. If you don't hit that, then we'll keep working for free till you do. So there's an email, you can join that. Otherwise, there's a link in the description for my Discord server. You can join there. You can see what we do. We have some Q&As there as well, so that I host sometimes. So yeah, that was it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.